So I have classes like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, basically. So it's kind of like a full-time job. And we have both like theory lessons and practical lessons. And practical lessons, I guess, like easy to imagine. You just have like cooking lessons where you prepare stuff. And in the theory classes, we have lots of different things like hygienics, Japanese laws, and Japanese like cooking or cuisine theory, like history. Also, we had like ikebana classes, like flower arrangement classes. We had sado, like tea ceremony classes. Fugu class, obviously, where you have to learn like all the theory before, and then we had like 1 semester of like practical classes to learn how to actually do it.
Is there any dish that you've learned to prepare at school that you really like doing now? Something that you're like, oh, I'm happy that I can cook and prepare this. Maybe something that's not necessarily focused only for restaurants, but that you can do at home.
If you know what you're doing, you can do most things at home. So kind of a hard question. Personally, I like making sashimi, and especially something that is called tsugata sashimi, where you fillet the fish, but you just take off the parts that you use for the sashimi and you keep everything else intact. And then you arrange the fish nicely in like a swimming shape, for example, and then rearrange the sashimi on top of it and garnish it. Wow. And that one looks pretty impressive.
So if you want to impress your guests at home, I guess you can
you could
go
do
for that.
Yeah. It's surprisingly not that hard. Like you have to have the right tools in the sense of you have to have a really sharp knife, and you kind of have to have an idea of like fish anatomy. So you know kind of like where to cut and where not to cut, so it doesn't you don't make any weird holes, basically. So you can rearrange it nicely. But otherwise, it's not that hard. You just have to, you do it once or twice and then you get an idea how it's done.
You worked in a sushi restaurant before moving to Japan, in Austria. And there are these stereotypes we often see. And also for them, there's this, the documentary called Jiro Dreams of Sushi or something about this famous sushi chef. Yeah. And these stories of, you have to just be at the shop and clean the shop for 10 years before you cut your first sushi and things like that. Have you seen this be true, or is it more like hands-on, faster nowadays, where the masters will take on an apprentice and of course they will have to do the things nobody wants to do in a restaurant, but they also get their hands on some fish early on?
It depends very much on the restaurant, obviously. Everything depends. There are some places that still have like the, if you want to call it like old system, where you're not allowed to do anything for years, but it's not the norm. But it was like one of the considerations when I chose where I wanted to work. And I talked to a lot of my teachers to ask them, like in their experience, like where are the places where you can actually learn like hands-on right from the start. But obviously there are still places where that's the case. But usually those have a hard time retaining their staff, which is kind of a thing right now in Japan as well.
I can imagine the younger generation maybe not too keen on just spending 10 years cleaning and before cooking something, actually. So what kind of place did you choose? What kind of place are you working on now?
I chose a 3 Michelin star place in Kyoto. And I chose one of the smaller places that has, it's called kappo, the style, which is just means like at the counter. So there's like basically an open kitchen. The customers sit at the counter and they can like look right into the kitchen. Because I thought like realistically, if I want to have my own place, it's going to be small because, there are not that many people that can do what I can do. So like my team is going to be either like me or like me and one other person. So it's going to be small. So I chose something that has like a similar kind of style. So I know what to do. Also, it will improve my Japanese a lot, obviously, especially like formal Japanese and how to do like really high class service. And
what kind of food do you serve at this Michelin star restaurant?
Kaiseki.
Kaiseki. So it's like a traditional Japanese course meal.
Exactly. Yeah.